don't want my use.
What are you talking about? Right, so create new. Sure. Right here. Yeah. I found the continue button at the bottom right. Continue. Name it something.
Wait.
Right, so click on your new database, you can click yeah, just click on that. And then add collection button. Okay. Here, on that. You know what? Just, you're good. Right? You're gonna place. All I did was I added a new game just by copying and pasting this information. You can do that too, or you can just wait until I continue the class and you'll be all caught up here.
I'll try to speak for as long as I can.
Okay.
I'm not doing well. If it gets worse, I may have to.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Even if I do stick with full duration class, I'm going to be pressed for time afterwards because my dad is picking up things.
Okay. So then we're happy to start the slide? Okay. Oh, no. Okay, that's different.
CSS maybe because
So you're saying, what about you? That means you have to go down here, and that's coming from here, which is coming from here, here, here. So if I go there, see, I'm just using index one. Yes. Is that here? Oh, so you can it's comment. Oh wait, no, but it still should have shown something. So this index should have looking in views, because that this network percent views is there. Is there one there? There. Other. Let me just comment out this one. Should see this, right? I should have seen your sentence. I should just see a paragraph, nothing else. Are we in the right folder? Where are we here? We are in program notes, you are Sun 100. Interesting. Why? I should see just one thing. Once I say this, watch this. Control A, commented That's all. So nothing short. I want that as a test. Say, so I expect to see nothing. So do that. I see something or something. Okay, now I see it. Okay, that's good. We're in the right folder. That's all I've determined so far. So undo, save.
They came out of there.
Now I should see styling, but I should see a paragraph. Oh no, that's right. The comment.
Comments, right?
Comment. Now I should. I think we're good. I think it's being hidden. I think your sentence is behind this there. But still. But I bet you, I just want to see your sentence. If I say right click and use source, I bet
It's
you
showing in user.
it is. Yeah, so it's just being hidden by. Yeah. So it's just that. So the bigger issues is this one. So we're going to start from why it's showing. So let's take a look. So it starts, it all starts from the so oh wait, sorry, you do need the best. Oh, what was I saying? I think that's it.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's called.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking was calling res render.
And then, yeah,
That's
so-
what let's just try that. So it's one fix. Okay, so it is working. It's just that it's behind because the banner is hiding the sentence.
That's why.
Right. So if I bet you if I do this, right, so if I look for the HTML that's the header, so here's the header. So I say plus. Oh, no, if I just say if I say plus. And so here's the CSS. If I say display none, I bet you everything that's behind it is going to show. Okay, in this case, where's the sentence? I don't know. But if I go back and try to do the same thing, so right click it, I bet you the sentence is going to show. Header, let's hide this header. Display none. Present. If I use first. Yeah, there.
There
So much. Anyways, it is working. I'm not sure. I'm sure why it's not showing up. The font color white. I don't know. But
that's what I was thinking. Might be why that works on that. That is black and different colors. The background color.
so the answer is the start. It's obviously coming through there. It's just that either white or in the inner. Not I saw that, but it's there. It's just a style issue. I'm not sure. I'm not sure What if I were to
Yeah.
instead of displaying that, what if I transparent? What if I said background color is RGB? Non-transparent. 0, 0, 0. Where is it? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's not there. That's so weird. Okay, if I just back go to the, I don't know, if I go to the actual key there. So I can just what is this? That was weird. I'm sure it's something simple. Oh. This div tag is not closed off. I think there's a an ending div tag. So the div tag, but there is no ending tag. So this is being hidden with that. If there was an ending div tag there, I think we'd be okay. So. Let's go back to header. Save. Exactly that's it. That's that. One div tag. Okay. All righty. So let me just say there for the YouTube audience that my recording accidentally shut off as I was doing that first part to get the portfolio template on. Email me if you want me to re-record that for your portfolio. If you want me to record that again, I can record that at home and then put it out if you decide to use the portfolio template and you need help with that. Okay, let us continue. Mongoose stuff. All right, so this is our new slide. So we've already done step 1 of this, create MongoDB on MLab. Okay, all of you are there. Our next step is we're going to install the mongoose package. So in your folder, say npm I mongoose, and we're going to install that. Okay, so we've already created our MongoDB on MLab. So our next step is we're going to install the mongoose package. So let's get out of here. Let's go to my lesson 5e. npm install mongoose. Wonderful, installed. Okay. Now, oops. Step 3, when I say here variables.env, this is a text file where we will put our database connection string along with our username and password in that string. If you recall back in your Comp 1006 days for PHP and MySQLs, you had a similar thing where you had a variable called, I don't know, dbcon equals to some kind of connection string to get connected to MySQL. And that included your password and login information. So same thing here. Question, how do we get that for MLab? Answer. So if we go here, click on right now, you may be in this view. All I want you to do, let's click on this one here, the DB, whatever DB you have. Mine is called Retro 3. basically gets you into this screen here. But right here is your answer. This to connect using a driver via the standard Mongo. So if you just copy and paste this into our text file called variables.env, that will be good for now. We are going to change that accordingly, where it says db user and db password. We will change that in a second. I'm going to copy that string in my root folder. So I'm going to create a new text file called variables.env. It's going to go in the same root structure as all the others. So just make sure you're clicking out of any folder and then click on new file, variables.env. So now I have a new file, again, in the same level or hierarchy as the rest of them. Here, I'm going to simply paste that database string. And before that, I'm going to say this, database equals. So how this works is, in my code, if I ever want to access this magical line of MongoDB, I'm going to say something something dot database, and it'll put that in for me. Okay. Why do you think it's a good idea to put your credentials in a separate file? Yeah. Security. Yeah. You don't want to ever upload this to GitHub.
Yeah, that way you can avoid it.
Yeah. And notice, by the way, when I said earlier on, express -- git creates a git ignore file. Let's look at that git ignore file for a second. Does it include a .env as there? It excludes any file with .env. Perfect. I don't want that file in my GitHub. Okay. Give me a second here. So the question is, how do I get this DB user and DB password? Answer. Notice there's a sentence here that says a database user is required to connect to this database. To create one now, visit the users tab and click database user. So right now we're in the collections tab. Click on this users tab. Then click on add database user. Now you'll see a modal window that looks like this, where you can enter your new username and password. Go ahead and do that for you. Wonderful. So now that you know your own user and password, go back to your variables.env file and put it in. All right. Wonderful. Now, remember how I said in your code, you will eventually access this database string with something.something.database. Here's the answer on how to do that. Go back to your terminal. We're going to install something new. npm install dot.env. What this package .env does is it'll attach this database string as well as any other data you put in here. So you can put in your passwords and login for all kinds of things. And it'll attach it to a global variable within Node called process. To use it, let's go into our app.js file. And then let us put it, let's see, where should we put it? Let's put it right, I think I'm gonna put it right here. Before we have our own index router stuff, I'm gonna put it right here. So this is how to do it, how to use it. So we've installed .env, you say require .env. Notice I didn't assign it to a variable, that's okay. .config. Inside those brackets will be the curly brackets. Path, and inside quotes will be in variables.env. If I can spell, there you go. Okay. Next thing you're gonna do, remember we npm installed mongoose. Let's use that now. Const mongoose equals require mongoose. Now, if you remember your PHP days, every time you wanted to connect to the MySQL database, you had to first connect to it, do your queries, get your results, and close the database. Here, we'll just connect to it. It'll just keep on being connected. Here's the magic. Notice I'm using process.env.database. So what's going to happen is our mongodb string will be inserted here. Okay. Let us go back to these slides. Where's my slides? So we are up to, so we've completed this first column of mlab plus mongoose. The second column is we're going to create something called models. Okay. So in your, just like we created a controllers folder, in that same hierarchy, in that same level, we're going to create, so click outside that just to make sure that you're there. We're going to create a models folder. So inside this models folder is essentially where you put your schemas. So remember how I said before that even though MongoDB is schemaless, Mongoose, you can enforce schemas. So here you can have your validation and structure. So inside that folder of models, let's create a new file. And this time, by convention, do a capital letter for the first letter. So I'm going to say game.js, but I'm going to capitalize that first letter. You don't have to. It's just by convention. Whenever it comes to models, that's what they usually do. Inside here, we are going to require mongoose. So const mongoose. I'm going to put in comments what's happening here. So we're going to define a schema for the game model. This and all other models inherit from mongoose. So here's the line of code. Const, and we'll call this game schema equals new mongoose dot schema. Inside those brackets, we're going to put curly brackets. This is where we define our fields, as well as the field type, as well as validation, perhaps, or error message. So let's just type in our first field, which is going to be title. That's going to be the game title. Now, FYI, I could just say string here, but I'm going to show you the longhand. What you really want is the object here. So type string, because we want more stuff here. Also say this has to be required. So MongoDB will complain if the user forgets to type this in. Do the same thing for the next field, which I believe is publisher. We'll essentially have the same thing. Have the same thing for image URL. And the last one here, the field was year. And this will be I just threw the year in for a couple reasons, just so we have a different data type and to show you something cool in a second. So this is how your data would typically look like. Make this public, we have to export it. So at the bottom, very bottom of the file, I want to say, I'm going to just put a comment, make this, I'm going to say this, module.exports equals mongoose.model. And here we're going to assign capital G game with what we just created, game schema. That file. Let me leave it here on the screen so everyone's caught up. Everyone's caught up? Cool. All right, so the big idea of this file is this. You just created a schema called game schema, and you just assigned a model with a capital G game with this. And notice how this was assigned using mongoose, which means, here's the big idea, in another line of code in another file, we are going to use the word, all we're going to use is the word game. And in it will contain all the mongoose methods to find and insert data into our MongoDB. So we'll just end up saying game.find, for example. So just, yeah, so as well as our data, if it chooses to find. So let's go into our controllers folder here. And we already have a file called games controller, right? We are now going to use what we just created. So at the very top of this file, of the games controller file, we're going to say this, const game require. Because we want that game, we have to get up one directory. There he goes. So this get games function, we're going to modify this slightly. Eventually, what we're going to do is this. Eventually, we're going to have like this. This variable is coming from our game.find. Okay, so let me just get that out for now. How do we do that? So in that function, just after that first line, just use a comment here. I'm going to use the game model to query our MongoDB for data. Find its games. Here's the code for that. And remember, my big idea is whenever you use this word game, you are now using mongoose. So I can use .find, I can use .insert, whatever. Here's your callback function. We're going to first check for errors. So if there's any error, just do something wise. Otherwise, let's do our thing. So here in our else clause, I'm going to copy and paste our previous res.render stuff and move it up into that clause. But the additional parameter I'm going to say is this, games. Again, ES6 says if you have two of the same name, you could just say now, it'll be interesting to see if this works. I'm going to run this, and let's see if it oh, you know what? It's not going to work quite yet, obviously, because our games page has yet to take advantage of this games variable that we're passing. So maybe we should change the games EJS page. Let me just check here. Yes. So let's go to our views in our games.ejs file, which currently looks like all this static stuff, all this which we don't need. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just here's what it looks like so far. It has what? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 9 pieces of information. I just want one to work with, because then I can loop over that same HTML code for all my data that's being imported. So I'm just going to delete all of these other ones. I just want one card, so to speak. Delete there. Now I'm just left with the one card. Save. Let me just check if that's true. NodeMon. I expect to see 1. Wonderful. So now, again, just like how we in our controllers, we pass in the title to get all games. Now we're passing in games, so we have access to this games data. So let's take advantage of that and use that in our card. So question to you, I want to change this title. So currently it's statically coded as blog template. I want to erase that and use our games data. How do I use it? Someone shout out to me the answer. Or start you off. So this, you want to use the tags with the equal sign, because the equal, again, is sort of like the echo in PHP. So I'm going to give it a variable. Variable is games. Now here's the problem. How am I going to get just the title? Anyone know? Yeah, it's an array. So we need a for loop or some kind of loop. So what I'm going to do is, like in PHP, where you have to loop over your stuff, we're going to do the exact same concept here. I'm going to create a for loop. Here's the beginning of my for loop. For, I'll fill that in later. And then I'll take that ending bracket and put that ending bracket down here. And so here's my for, and here's my ending for bracket. So inside the 4 brackets, I'll have let I equals 0. You've all done this before. I is less than, you tell me, games dot, thanks. Plus. And keep in mind, you can do this in a couple of different ways. I mean, you don't have to use a for loop. You can use a for each loop, or the more current map for ES6, but we'll deal with this for now. All right, so to get the title, what is it now? Games, what? You have a for loop, you have an I to work with. What's inside? What's after games? Yeah, exactly. Dot what? So that's what we named it. Let's see if this gets us Pac-Man in the title. Did I use NodeMon? I think I used NodeMon. Pac-Man, coming directly from US East Virginia. I have now Pac-Man, which means everything else should be simple. Let's replace our text here with a publisher. Games I publisher. That work? Fresh. Wonderful. I just can't spell Namco. Okay. Next one. Instead of read more, I'll just change the button to play, and we'll change the text later. And for the image, okay, this is a little bit tricky for the image source. What do you think the image source should be here? Yeah, it's the image URL. So eventually I have to say this, image URL. But that's currently not going to work. So what's the solution to that? We need the there. That should work. alter. Let's see if the picture changes if I refresh. Aha. Cool. So now, if you went back to MLab here, if you wanted to, you don't have to. No, we'll try it. We'll try it. We'll go back and add a document. And let's go back to our web page that has all the games. I'm gonna right click this first game, and let's just see what happens if I say title is Oregon Trail. Publisher was something. What was the publisher? There was Mech. Year was, I don't know what the year was. And notice the order doesn't have to be, what is the year? 1990. Order doesn't have to be the same. Image URL, paste the image URL. So if I press create and go back, I should have 2 pieces of data. Great, so now if I go refresh my web page, I should have 2 pieces of data. Wonderful. Cool, everyone excited? Usually I get excited at this point. Yes, it's working. Everything else is simple. Okay. Controller code, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So game controller code. Let me move this down a bit. So the difference is this first line. So now you're requiring your model called game, which you created back in your models folder. And then the difference also is this whole block of code where you're using game.find. So again, game has embedded with it mongoose, which means it has all the methods to use mongodb, which means you can use a .find, you can use a .insert. And then this code right here is essentially the same as what we had before, except we're just passing in an additional parameter of games. Because by the time this find gets all the games, this will be populated, which we now know from last class. How does that happen? Because this is a callback function. That means this function calls our function sometime later within itself, which means the games is populated. Cool. Any questions, comments so far before I take care of some little itty bitty stuff that's annoying me? For example, see this underline for home? See this underline for games? No. Here's one way to fix that. Let's close out everything here. I just want my header. EJS. So the line of code responsible for that underline is this class called is-active. So currently it's statically coded, so this home will always be is-active. I want it to make it dynamic so that depending on which link I'm on, is-active will be for that link. How to do that? What do you think I can do? Using EJS template syntax. What could I possibly do? This is what I came up with. This doesn't have to be the answer. But eventually I want this, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to say something like this. So I'm going to say is active. This is a variable, is active, that's going to come from my controller.js file. So when I'm saying render and I'm passing in title and games, I'm going to pass it in is active field as well. Okay? And so here in my controller file, I'm actually saying is active is games for the games. Here will be similarly is active. So now I'm passing in more than a couple of variables. I'm passing in is active. which means I can access is active from here in my EJS file. So I'm going to test. I'm going to say, hey, is the variable is active currently equal to if so, and this is called a switch. Show of hands, who knows what a switch statement is from other languages? I don't have to explain this. So if so, output the class is active. If false, output nothing. Then I just copy and paste this. So I think I wanted that here as well. Wonderful. I'm going to use my trick again. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click on Alt. And I'm going to mouse click there. So now I have two cursors going. Oh, I think I just messed up again. Paste in my thing. But here, I don't want games. I want home. Oh, sorry. Other way around. Other way around. So let's see if this works. Right? Let's go to our page, refresh. I think I used load one. And oh, it's already working. Yes, home games. Home games. Wonderful. Let us add a form. Actually, hold on. Before we do that, what time is it? 1:05. I'm going to let you try something. Notice how I created an admin side here. So currently it's not working. Maybe for the next 5-10 minutes, this is what I want you to do on your own. Use whatever table your CSS framework is giving you. So for mine, I have a table here, table component somewhere. Here's what my table will look like, and here's the code for it. Try for the admin page putting the same information in table format. So obviously this will be title, publisher, year, image URL. It'll essentially be similar to what we already did for our games page, which looks like this. But instead of looking like this, it'll look in table format. So it's just the same thing, just looking in a different way. I want you to try that for the next 10 minutes. Call me over if you're needing help. And I'll do it on my end, but I want you to really try on your end as well. Because this is a good time for you to ask me questions if you're stuck. Okay. And we'll meet you on the other side. If you want to take another break, it is the top of the next hour, so you can take a break too if you want while I do this. So I need Brad. Yeah, sure, no problem. You can go in.
Tutors, because there was an issue last week related to my illness.
Okay. Yeah, no
I'm
problem.
sick.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
We're in MTV now.
You know what? You said games. You said game. Yeah. Or you.
Color. We stuff from the template. Or that they're suggesting before.
Can I see it?
There.
Oh, you know what? I can see it already. Yeah, the code is just this. Their new webpage, I know they have this, but it's not going to work for you because, yeah. I think the best, the easiest way is go back to the webpage. Yeah, started. Yeah. So replace your node boxes with these ones, and that'll work.
That'll be better.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, question, yeah. No, use outlook, yeah, that's right. And we've been using that in our roots index file. Root/index.js file, we've been using outlook at all. To your roots file. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, whatever name you give it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can make this work. No problem. Okay, yeah, no problem. That's why I created the video, so that's good, yeah. You have your assignment to do. Yeah, so there's nothing to do. So it's pretty much everything, the whole portfolio. So tomorrow was due part 1, and then next week, same time, will be part 2. Part 1, and yeah, actually part 2 as well. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because
What we did today is part 2.
Yeah, because like
Yep.
was just get the functionality working.
Yes.
And then part 2 is actually
Yes.
adding CSS.
Yeah, you're right. Right. Copy and paste all those materials. Put it in the systems. Okay. Go to keep the models folder. I saw it too. Matter of what. Yeah. 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 Just that. Yeah. Speak up louder. Let's try this. Let's try one. I don't know if that works. Try the access launch program. Try. Yeah.
Just put your controller.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which code?
Just your controller brigade.
Yeah, sure.
Just over.
Yeah, so there's Comment out, yeah, although I mean that fine brown sound. We're not even. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not on us. Here. Yes. Actually, that's fine. Yes. Right. Yeah. Run that. Okay, hopefully you got that working. I went around to help a bunch of people, so I didn't get mine working quite right. Hold on, but I will eventually. I did have planned more. I did want to, in this class, include an add form. But I think I will leave that for next class, where we'll add the add functionality, the delete functionality, and the edit functionality. I think just for now, just for fun, I want to implement the play page. So, oh, how come I can't? As you recall, there's the play button. I go to games, I have my play button. Obviously, if I click on play, nothing happens. I want to make that happen. What can we do with that? Let's see here. What I want to do, so think of ways how you could solve that problem. What is one way you might solve that problem of passing in a parameter so that it knows which game that you're about to play? So keep in mind the end destination is the iframe tag, which will get the URL reference from our image URL. Okay. So let me start off the structure of it, at least. So if I go to my current, I want to go to a place called play game. So currently there's nothing there. Let's make that happen. So let's go to my roots index. So if someone goes to router.get play game, I want them to go to gamescontroller.play game, which we have yet to define in our controllers. Let's go there. And so exports dot play game equals, it'll essentially be the same thing as your other stuff for now. So I'll just copy, paste the code, and it'll be play. Okay. So now I put a play game there. Obviously, I have to make a play.ejs file now. So I'll go to my views, quickly create a play.ejs file. And in here, it'll look very much like my index.ejs file. So let me just copy my index.ejs and put it here. Let's just see if that does anything. So does that work? Refresh. Yes, it works. So /play game now works. Okay. The iframe tag. Let's just take a look at how that was structured. So if I go back to here and say, click on one of these games, click on the share this item, look at the embed code. I'm just going to copy this whole thing. I know it's currently hard-coded, but we'll change that. So let's paste that in. So instead of welcome to whatever, we'll just paste in our iframe tag there. Let's see if that works. Refresh. 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 Oh, I saw something. Oh, okay. It's kind of working. the styling obviously needs to be fixed. Let me just really quickly put in a style. Maybe, I don't know, can I do this with 800 pixels? Does that work with an iframe tag? I don't know. Yeah, kind of. Okay, cool. So it's there. I can center it, but I won't worry about centering for now. But it's working. So now the question is, how can I make this part a variable? And how can I pass in that variable? Answer, what do you think? From the play button. What do you think? How can I make this play? Let's look at the play button for a second. So that was coming from games.ejs. So where's my play button? Here's my play button. So obviously this href has to be something different. What can I put in there to pass in that image URL so that I can use that for my iframe? What do you think? What was that? Question mark? Yeah, the question mark thing where you're passing in parameters, right? So we did this last class where we said, whatever URL, pass in some parameters like game equals whatever. So here I could say game equals and then that last part of the URL. So how do I get that last part of the URL? Answer. Look convoluted. I'm going to get it from my games i.image URL. And because I want just the last part of that, again, this is going to look so convoluted. I only figured this out the other day. So I'm just basically doing string manipulation here. There, done. I can't use double quotes for that. I have to use single quotes. So I use single quotes to encapsulate my href. And what I'm basically saying here is this. Oops. Take my whole image URL, take that whole thing, and I just want that last part that's unique. And that's why I said last index, oops. That's why I said last index of slash. So it's going to look for the very last slash of that URL and start from there and cut and paste just that. And that's what substring does. Okay. Let's save that. Let's just see if that works. So if I refresh my games, oh, hold on. What did I just do? Did I just do something and broke it? Again, games. Or is this still broken? Let's get games. Oh no. What did I do wrong? I bet you it's just one little thing too. What if I just take away whatever I just typed? Get what I just typed. Just leave it there. That should work. At least, yes. Okay. Then it's something that I type within here. Let me try it again. Here will be games image URL substring games. That works. Refresh. It's no longer broken. Okay, so the important part here is this. Notice how I hover over the link. At the bottom left corner, you'll see the URL it's gonna go to. It's gonna go to localhost 3000 /playgame game equals, and that's the unique part, right? So if I click on that, this is the URL, right? Game equals that, and that's the part I need that I'll pass to my iframe tag. That this will work. So let's go and use that. So how do I use that in the play game, play.ejs? So I need to use, wait a minute, hold on. I have to parse that stuff that we did before. And I'm just to help me out, and it's because I kind of forgetting. I'm just going to go back to a previous lesson I did. To my controllers. Is it here? Where's my part? That's the magic thing right there. There for reference. So here in my game controller, I'm going to parse that URL. And you've done this before. You said, you know, on some variable equals url.parse. And then we're going to grab that thing that was parsed. And we've done this before. Here, inside the variable game passed, is all the different variables that we passed through the get URL. And so we want to pass the title, hold on, to be, title will be game pass.game. Anymore. I'm using the title field to pass in my unique URL, which means I can then use it in my EJS, right? So here in my EJS, this part can go. This hard-coded part. I'm going to transform that into one of these and put in title there. We'll delete this. I'll just do that. That should work, theoretically. Let's see if it does. So go to games. I'm going to choose a different game. Play, Oregon Trail. Crap. URL is not defined. Why not? Oh, you know why? Quick answer, or tell me why URL is not defined here. Because that should work. Again, back, play. Come on. Yes. I think it's working. Yes. Now you can play your game. You just have to center it, but essentially it's theoretically working. And so if you add more games, it should uniquely play that game. Cool. So again, I wanted to see if I could fit in the add game form today. Maybe I'll leave it at that for today's class, and we'll leave the functionality of add, delete, and update for next class. Cool? Unless you want me to keep on going. Unless you've had enough mentally. I don't know. You tell me. I can still fit in add form, I think. You're good to go? Yeah? Is everyone else good to go? Yeah? Okay, we'll fit in add form. Cool. Maybe we'll get just the form going. All right, so obviously if I click on add game right now, it's going to break. So let's get that working. How do you get it working? Go to our roots. Let's put in a new root. A router.get. If you go to add, then do something. Add game. Great, so that means I have to go to my controllers. And then add. Any other thing, so I'll just copy and paste one of these. Right, and we want to render the add file. Right, so in our EJS views folder, we create a view called add game.ejs, which will typically look like any other. Yes, we'll just change and add a form to it. Copy that index one, paste that one. There we go. So yeah, let's see if that works. So it's not broken anymore. Refresh. Oh, hold on. Hold on, what's happening here? Before I even, oh, doesn't like something. Unexpected token dot. Bet you it's just one simple thing. What is it? What could it be? What could it be? Exports add games. Where's that export add games? I forgot to put what sign? Equal sign? Thank you. One simple thing. Right again. Am I using Node on? All right, is it breaking? No. Okay, good. So let's try it again. Should not be breaking. Woo. Let's add a form. I'll just go to mine and you know what? I don't want to spend the time to do that again. So I'm going to go to, because I did this before during rehearsal. So I have my HTML code somewhere here. Add form. There's my HTML code for the table. I'm just going to highlight what I changed that's useful to know. So I'm just going to copy that. Add it to my page. So get rid of the paragraph, paste in my form, save. Let's see what it looks like. Fresh. Oh, whoops. Undo, undo, undo. Try that again. Copy the right stuff this time. So form. Paste. So just the form now, hopefully. Right. Oh, that's one too many H1s. The only things, so this is just a regular form that I can get anywhere. The only difference that you have to be aware of is make sure these variable names, make sure you do have a name variable and make sure it matches. Mine does not currently match my MLab. Mine was called title. So I'm going to change that to title. Right? So make sure these match what you had in MLab. So publisher, image URL with a capital U, yes. And I think that was, and then notice the form's method is post. This action I said is /add, just to be explicit. In theory, you don't actually have to have that. You could just delete that and it'll still work because it always posts to itself, but we'll just do that for explicit sake. And that should, I believe, give you at least the form. Does this actually work? No. Why doesn't it work? Because we have to route that in. So in our routes file, and this is probably where I'll leave off for now. So here's the new stuff. We already set router.get add to get the page with the form, but here's the new stuff. You're going to say router.post add. So we're using the same add, but we're saying if this form was submitted through a post, then we're going to do something different. Games controller / create game. Okay. That's where we're going to leave off. But at least you got the form there. Yeah, so we'll continue this next class. Show of hands, should I publish this on GitHub? Okay, because so far I haven't been doing that to kind of trick students that aren't here in class to make sure they're doing the work and following the videos and typing along. But I think for this one, I'll put this on GitHub. Have a chance to. Yeah. Okay, any questions or comments before we go? Yeah, Amanda. Yeah, so you wanted to use that portfolio template. So what I'll think I'll do is maybe sometime tonight or tomorrow, at home I'll record that part again of me doing surgery for the template portfolio, and so then I'll post that on YouTube so that everyone has a chance to use that portfolio if they wish. Cool? Okay. Cool. All right. Have a good weekend or. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Question. Oh, yeah. Right. Did you figure out your thing? Okay. Now I can help you. So let me turn off my screencast and then I'll.